Mediocre Disc Golf Podcast, an average podcast for the average disc golfer. As always, I'm Evan Amstutz, joined by the disc golf sensation that's sweeping the nation, Dan Hesser. We're happy you could join us. Dan, how are you doing today?
And I am doing well. I'm doing well. I guess I am kind of sweeping the nation just in travels, but not anything else like that.
Not even in the
Uh,
cleaning aspect.
oh gosh, yeah, sweeping the floors. That's what other players are doing to me right now. Man, it's been interesting here in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the level of competition is pretty high, which is really nice because, used to moving into a newer city and kind of being a bigger dog in the field or whatever when it comes to,
Mm-hmm.
small towns. But there's a pretty good field out here, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I was randomly playing dubs with this guy who was parking like 500-foot shots and eagles and shit, and I was just like, yeah,
Oh,
boy.
wow.
Yeah, get him. I mean, he couldn't putt once he got his eagle drive, but it was really cool though. I mean, that he
Yeah.
was crushing out there and tapping in birdies after they caged. But um, yeah, it was inspiring. I've been doing a lot of field work.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What's your field work routine like? Do you have one? Or are you just chucking frisbees in the park and hoping that you get better?
yeah, so I set up cones because cones are a lot easier to carry around than baskets are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll set up cones at 250, 300, 370 or 350 and 400 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw different shot shapes, um, like Anheuser backhands or forehands or um, Heiser flips or whatever I can think of, trying to get the discs as close to uh, the cones.
Okay.
And I'm not, there's probably obviously a lot better routine, but I'll just take my bag out there and just throw my bag several times on several different lines
Mm-hmm.
at different distances, trying to like pretend there's a tree right in the way out to the left and I've got to go around the tree, that sort of type of thing. More visualization. Um, my upshots have gotten better because of it, because just throwing putters 250 feet, dead straight
Yeah.
is is a skill I think pretty much every disc golfer should have, and you don't really learn how to do that unless you're in a field just chucking putters for 30, 45 minutes a day. Um,
Yeah.
but
One of our friends recently was telling me because he's started getting some more power. Is like, I don't know how to throw a putter with power, but like if I throw a mid range here, it's gonna go way too far. So
mhm.
I was like,
Yeah,
well,
it's finesse. Go to a field.
congratulations. Welcome to the requiring field work to get better category of disc
Yeah,
golf.
exactly. Yeah, man. I mean, I think every player should have like a 200-foot, 250-foot dead straight putter shot. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
it's kind of like a requirement. But um, yeah, it should be fun. I've got a tournament coming up this weekend
Hmm.
to go play at. Um, so that'll be exciting.
This week's episode is brought to you by The Disc Shop. One of the best days for a disc golfer is New Disc Day. With different runs of discs, the best way to get exactly what you want is by seeing what you're buying. The Disc Shop in Middleburg, Florida has the largest selection in store in Jacksonville. Want the latest from Discmania? The Disc Shop has you covered. Looking for starter kits to introduce your friends? Head on down to the Disc Shop. If you prefer the convenience of online shopping, head over to thediscshop.com for all your disc golf needs. Listeners get 10% off when using the code MDGPOD at checkout online or by mentioning the podcast while in store. Located halfway between Trinity and Ronnie Van Zant, the Disc Shop is the spot.
But it's kind of been a slow week, slow month in disc golf. There hasn't been a lot going on, like on the professional side of things. So I started watching some really old, like spin TV coverage
I have
of
not
like
gotten that into that depth of disc golf.
boredom.
I wouldn't call it boredom, but Sure, if you'd like to out yourself like that.
Watching 2016 Sulu Open with KJ Naibo, Paul McBeth, Nate Sexton, Simon Lizotte.
That's pretty cool.
Spoiler alert, it goes into a three-way playoff.
That's
Pretty,
pretty
pretty
exciting though.
cool. It's pretty cool. It was great, man. I always watched the final coverage. I was like, this is so cool. Um,
How does it compare to the coverage that we have now? I mean, now we've got I can think of five off the top of my head different coverage
yeah. You'd
companies.
have to go back and watch it. Obviously, they were innovators at the time, and I think it's like watching old movies. If you ever like go back and like, not to, you know, say that the classics aren't classic, but if you ever go back and like watch Back to the Future or something like that, it's just
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, these graphics, these, oh how, but I mean, if you just take it for what it is, you're like, okay, so this is great. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
realizing that was their limitations, but. Yeah, man. Kind of on that note, though, um, the tour did put out all the all the coverage and the media companies that are going to be doing that. I thought it was
Hmm.
pretty interesting that Joe Mez is getting FPO a lead card, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're gonna have to bulk up their staff. I mean,
Oh yeah,
they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off with just MPO lead
I
cards.
know.
So,
Yeah, they're gonna have to do, and I'm wondering who the commentators are going to be for that. Like if it's going to be a set group, you know, like a big sexy type group, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Or if it, like Paul Ulibarri and Big Germ, or like is it gonna be like Nate Sexton, and you know who's it gonna be? Is it that's something I want to know. GK Pro, interestingly enough, isn't going to be doing any sort of live coverage. They're just going to be doing skins, which I mean they've been doing, but that was like their own thing. Really had nothing to do with the tour. So I'm wondering if like the Pro Tour is now actually going to be giving them extra money, but to do it, I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
because before it was the coverage companies had to pay the Pro Tour
mhm.
to be out there.
The coverage
Now,
companies have to pay the tour to
to
film
like
their
license,
players.
yeah,
Yeah.
to license, have the licensing to present their stuff as their own,
Yeah,
and get
like the
monetized and all that sort of stuff.
right, but that's
Good
like the
old
cards
copyright
though.
stuff.
Right, but that was the cards, right? So like
Hmm.
the skins, I don't think that was under that umbrella. I feel like
No,
skins were kind of almost like their own thing, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. It was more of like a practice round type deal.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be interested to see if GK Pro continues the skins thing because if they're not there for like a tournament, are they really going to send a crew out all around the country every
Just for
weekend
skins.
just for one, essentially one thing of content? Like I,
Or or is Jomez essentially going to be paying the GK boys to come out and film for Jomez?
mhm. Dude, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's just an interesting. I mean, when you're talking about media companies like this, I mean, I know it's huge in their world and it's, you know, probably pretty big, but I mean, that's been the kind of week that we've had in disc golf where it's been pretty slow. So we're hypothesizing over stuff like this, but
Yeah, but I mean, it is an interesting way to kind of talk about the growth of the sport and
hmm
how, I mean, we're at the point where Jomez is kind of turning into, or not kind of, they are turning into the media coverage as far as post produced. They just had that Simon Lizotte series, episode
oh,
one
that was
came
so
out.
good. Yeah.
It was so cool. But they're doing that, they're doing documentaries, they're doing
hmm
the putting thing. Like they've got something coming out almost every week of the off season.
hmm
Then when they hit the regular season, they have something coming out every single week.
Well, almost, yeah, because I mean, we've got the Silver Series that Silver Series is going to be done by Central Coast. Is that right? If I
I believe
remember right.
so. Yeah.
Which is cool to see their name back out there. Man, I hope they have more of the champs versus chumps.
That was always a fun one.
Oh my gosh, I missed that series. That was so good. Seven, what tournaments do you have coming up here?
So I have 4 rounds of tournament play in one weekend when this comes out tomorrow. Um, Saturday we have the Bullet Bash at Springfield Park in downtown Jacksonville,
Always a good
and
one. Yeah.
always a good one. And then the Lighthouse Open, kind of more in my neck of the woods, and I say that jokingly because I'm still 30 minutes away from that course, but at Moccasin Creek at the St. Johns County Fairgrounds. So lots and lots of tournament golf. And because it's a Jacksonville tournament, and when we get nice things, we have to be reminded that we are in Jacksonville. The weather is going to be terrible.
So
Looking
is it going to be raining or is it going to be windy or what are we looking at?
so Friday all day, it's supposed to be thunderstorms, lots of rain, all that good stuff. And Springfield does not drain well at all.
Okay, so it's going to be
So,
really wet, mushy ground conditions. Okay.
yep. On top of that, 20 to 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, nice. Even
So
par.
throwback to JO last year for Am Weekend.
Took a seven on a par three. No big deal.
um, and then the next day on a course that is very wide open and has no protection from the wind, it is going to be 15 to 20-mile-an-hour winds.
Well,
So
that's more manageable. 15 to 20.
yeah, it's more manageable, except for the fact of the course has an island hole that is completely unprotected from the wind.
Hmm.
And yeah, that'll be fun. Good
What's
thing
going to be
I
your
sponsored the drop zone on that one. I think that's going to be some advertising dollars well spent.
what's your strategy in playing? I mean, obviously with higher wind, you just kind of stable up, right? Like that's everybody knows that. But what's your strategy on maintaining a positive mindset when your discs are doing crazy things, when you are, laying up from 20, 30 feet away just because you're scared of the wind? I mean, what's your mindset going into something like that?
So I really try to like appreciate the levity of the situation of I
Hmm.
love this game so much that I'm playing around that matters in this kind of condition.
Right.
And like dude, it's fun to throw a force as like smoothly as you can and it's still bird over into a roller. Like that's pretty funny.
Yeah. I
Uh,
always have a lot of fun playing in the wind when it's not rated, but
yeah, I mean, it's tournament wise, it's one of those things you have to remember everybody else is playing the same thing. You
yeah.
can't get caught up in the, oh, well, my disc air bounced this time, so I'm getting all the bad breaks, all that. Everybody's going to be doing the same thing. So
Hmm.
I also kind of look at it as a like suck it up. Everyone else has to deal with it.
Yeah.
So like if you're complaining about it, you're already mentally a step behind your competitors if they're not
Hmm.
complaining about it. So I always look at really bad condition rounds as like I have fun in them. So that gives
Hmm.
me an advantage because I'm going to just enjoy it.
Yeah. I definitely think having that positive mindset and realizing that everybody is going through the same stuff that you're going through is definitely um, can help you shoot a better round. I feel like definitely taking a break and not being too hard on yourself and allowing yourself to make some mistakes
Mm-hmm.
is also going to help out a lot. Not expecting yourself to shoot the round of your life. I mean, you saw how wins affect even the professional players at DDO last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's definitely something. I struggle with the cold, like your fingers and your toe,
Mm-hmm.
like your hands being cold and your discs being cold. I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the
and
biggest thing with playing in bad conditions is that is the most important time to focus on
Hmm.
the shot you were throwing at that moment. Whatever is about to happen doesn't matter. Whatever happened the shot before doesn't matter if you threw OB right before. The worst thing you can do in bad conditions is say, well, because I threw this previous shot bad, I have to throw this one really well to make
Yeah,
up for that last
yeah,
one. That's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
asking for a compounding, taking
Then
a
you're,
seven on a par three.
hey man, still don't. The story doesn't get old, I guess, even though I wish it would. Um, no, that had nothing to do with it. The following hole had everything to do with that.
Yes. Yeah, that was more what I was
Yeah.
referencing was the following where you're just like really trying to get after it to try to make up
Yeah.
for it. But
Get
that
angry
is
and throw the disc into the basket and have it bounce back out at you.
yeah.
Go back to Adam Hammis. I mean, that's what it basically felt like. It was just like uh, so much fun.
Yeah. But not to continue to harp on that story. It's it really is a figure out what that exact shot is,
Hmm.
figure out the wind, and then throw it.
Hmm.
Limit the amount of, well, I'd like to throw it at this angle. And if it's, especially if it's gusty, all that goes out the window.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got to kind of take your best guess at it, commit to it, and then move on to the next thing.
Throw something really overstable, and who cares if you come up short? Just make
Mhm.
sure you're in bounds and make sure that you're, um, that you swing it out wide enough and have a nice day.
Yeah.
That's that's
Take your
about it. I mean,
take your pars, move on. If you can avoid a bogey, definitely do that rather than trying to make the miracle shot for a bird to get a birdie or something like that.
so I watched this video that Robbie C put out
Hmm.
um, about how to shoot 900 rated golf.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's talk about this one.
And his theory was a 900 rated player. You can shoot 900 rated golf if you throw 250 feet, make your upshots, and make every circle two putt or make every putt within 20 feet.
Hmm.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's very interesting.
That if all you have to do is throw 250 feet, make every putt within 20 feet, and make your upshots, put your upshots close. That's that's uh, that's a thought because obviously 900 rated golf is a lot of people, that's what they want. They want 900 rated golf. Some people want a little bit more than that, some but that is just a really interesting thought, and I feel like that sort of strategy plays well in the wind and in really poor conditions where it's really tough, is to maybe disc down, increase stability, throw chip shots up the middle,
Hmm.
make your little putts, and get off the hole, and not push or really go after it to try to
Yeah.
do the most, because you'll end up like the other guy throwing all over the place and taking all sorts of crazy numbers.
Yeah, because I mean, in that video, I thought it was really interesting. I don't necessarily agree with the 250 feet. I think it kind of, like he said at the end of the video, it varies area by area, course by course. I think that the distance needs to be taken with a grain of salt, but
Yeah.
the concept of get yourself in play and be good at putting from 20 feet and in and
Hmm.
getting yourself to 20 feet and in. That
I
is
mean, if you
that
increase
is
your
all that
distance 50
matters.
feet, 300 feet, if you could throw accurately 300 feet,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is great. If you can
Yeah.
drop dimes at 300 feet,
Mm-hmm.
make 20-foot putts consistently, you'll score really well on most courses.
Yeah. I mean, to bring it back to last year's JO in the final round, that was my strategy playing the blues, which at that point for you and I was more of an intimidating round. We didn't
Hmm.
play it very much and we weren't nearly as good as we are now. But my strategy going into that was I'm going to keep it in the fairway. Like I remember specifically hole 13, it was playing in the par four position. And for those who haven't played Four Palms before, it's a like 400 foot, 500 foot, or like 400, 450 par four, but there's a double Mando about 50 feet in front of the basket.
Yep.
And you can go the forehand line or you can go the backhand line to kind of there's two different lines. And so going into that hole, I knew that at that time I was really struggling with like my backhand. I wasn't good at hitting lines with the backhand. So instead, what I did was I took my most overstable disc in my bag and I threw it on the forehand line way out wide, knowing damn well that I wasn't going to get close to the Mando. I was going to be in a spot where I lay up before the Mando, just get up and down from there, take my par,
Yep.
move on to the next hole. And that kind of saved my tournament there because the other guys on my card were playing that hole very aggressively, trying to get themselves in a position to make the birdie. And they got themselves way out of position off the tee or had to lay up, or they went for it and missed. And then they're throwing for par from the drop zone. And me playing for par on that hole in that situation actually gained a stroke on the guy who was chasing me because I knew that was a hole that could get really bad really quick.
Yep.
So similar, I threw 300 feet up the fairway, laid up to a spot that I know I can make par.
Pot.
Exactly. And it's similar situation of playing in the wind. You have a 300-foot hole in front of you, and all you need to, like, there's danger. Throw something that gets you somewhere where you think you can get up and down 90% of the time.
Yep.
You don't need to put yourself in a position where you might take a huge number.
Yep.
If there's a ton of OB, throw away from the OB. It sounds simple, but sometimes, I mean, especially in inclement weather, that is the best thing, is just to keep yourself out of danger. Let everybody, this is what the great ball golfer Jack Nicklaus would do, is he said, I didn't care what everybody else is doing. I played my game and let the field come to me, because I knew that if I didn't make mistakes, everybody else is going to beat them trying to beat me.
Yeah, everybody's going to be, yeah. I mean, that's all it is, man. That's all it is. Chip, putt, get off the hole. But it was an interesting watch. If you haven't watched it, it's worth a watch just to kind of get an idea. But it's a interesting concept, that's for sure.
Yeah. In the words of John Prince, easy game, put disc in basket. This week's episode is also brought to you by Spikeheiser Dyes. Based out of Macon, Georgia, Spikeheiser's Dyes is your destination for incredible dyed discs. Looking for a disc right now? Spikeheiser Dyes has plenty in stock. Check the link in their bio at shdyes_DG on Instagram. Want something more custom? Spikeheiser Dyes does that as well, with the ability to dye just about anything you can dream up. Spikeheiser Dyes, your destination for incredible disc art.
Well, man, next week hopefully we should have somebody lined up. We got a bunch of stuff in the works, so that stuff should start coming through, and we'll have more guests lined up for everybody.
Yeah.
And till then,
that wraps it up for today. You can find Dan on Instagram at dhesser and me at Evan Amstutz DG. Remember to follow the pod on Instagram at Mediocre Disc Golf Pod and on Twitter at Mediocre DG Pod. If you want to support us, buy our shirts on mythicdiscgolf.com and listen every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you enjoyed the show, leave us 5 stars in a review. And if you didn't, still give us 5 stars and tell us why. We know we aren't perfect because we are mediocre. Have a good night.